Welcome back to the Football Terrace. It's 5 p.m. There's only one place to be, and that is here. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Back on the channel today with me for the entirety of the show. Can't wait. This guy is becoming, in my opinion, one of the fast-growing, up-and-coming YouTubers on the planet. Great energy, great football knowledge, an amazing haircut. His haircut looks banging considering we're in lockdown here as well. It's the grand damn man like Dammy himself. How you doing, bro?
Listen. Your boy, the grand damn, man, bigging up my haircut, you know. Man's fade is looking hella crusty right now. But hey, I know it's lockdown settings. I don't even know. I can't lie to you. I'll be honest with you, man. I do some things here and there. But oi, big up for the intro, man. Big up. Massively appreciate it.
Listen, your hair looks, but look at this. Look at this nastiness on the side of my head, bruv. Look over the ears. Honestly, I look like I'm homeless if I don't. The earphones cover it up a lot. I grew it back. I shaved it off for the first lockdown. I grew it back, and then now it's looking janky. Plus, I've got the receding hairline. I'm old. It is what it is. But looking fresh, brother. How are you, though? You good?
Yeah, I'm chilling. Man just got back from work, hopped onto the terrace and that. You understand? That end the cut, ready to chat about some football. That's what we love to do.
Absolutely. And one of the first stories we're going to talk about, we actually got an agenda. We don't normally do agendas, but we've got a big one today. Big news about Haaland, that Chelsea have got a big bid prepared end of the season. They want to bring Haaland in, make him the main number one striker at the club. Is that a deal that you could see happening and one that you would endorse? Would you be happy with that as a Chelsea fan?
If I'm not happy with that deal, then someone should please kill me, because I don't think I would not condone that. At the moment, obviously, we signed Timo Werner, who was a top striker last season. His confidence seems to be a bit down right now, and he's missing quite a few chances. I know he's starting to get back into the flow of things, but as the season is progressing, we can only keep watching and hoping that they keep improving, because Haaland, for me, is one of the next world beaters. I'm not going to put him in that Mbappe level, because Mbappe has done some stupidly ridiculous things for his age. But Erling Haaland's conversion rate is one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen in world football. Now, us going for him is something I can see happening. Now, a lot of people feel like it's going to be a battle between like Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and everyone for Erling Haaland. But one thing we need to remember is, like, look at Kai Havertz, look at Timo Werner. These are players that Bayern Munich thought they had on their leash, and Chelsea came out of nowhere and absolutely took advantage of the entire situation. Now, I don't think anybody knew that lockdown was going to happen or this pandemic was going to happen, but that's why I keep telling people that I feel when Chelsea had that transfer ban, it gave us a really good advantage we didn't expect to have, because we didn't really have to spend a lot of money to be able to actually, like, during that period, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have any money. We couldn't spend money. And we didn't spend money in the January window. So we came in, got Kai Havertz. Like, look at the amount we spent on Kai Havertz, 72 million or thereabouts. In a normal season, that's not happening, because he was one of the best talents in the Bundesliga. Same thing with Timo Werner. So, yes, Haaland links right now. I am semi-confident. I'm not going to say I'm 100% confident of it happening, because obviously this is a different period. Now we're getting, like, lockdown. Hopefully it's ending. Hopefully, I'm tired of this lockdown thing. You know, I'm so tired. But at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that by the time everything comes around, that it actually comes to fruition, because my God, that guy is a top world beater, man.
He is. And do you know what's really encouraging? His conversion rate for the last 2.5 years has been around 50%, sometimes 52, sometimes 48. If he would have had the attempts this season that Werner has got, it'd already be on around 30 goals in all comps.
Wow.
Like, his conversion rate, even with all the struggles Chelsea have had this year, it'd be on around 30 goals. And I think he's one of them players for me, Haaland. If your club's linked with him and you're unhappy, you don't know ball, or you don't care about winning. You don't care about winning if you don't want a Haaland, for me.
Literally, like, the thing is, when you've got these talents on, they don't come that often. You know what I'm saying? When was the last time these like, they're all around the same age gap? Like, Mbappe is what, 19 or 20? Kai Havertz is like 21. Erling Haaland is how old? All these guys, they only come around ever so often. It's like every decade or so. So you try and get, they're like hotcakes at a bakery. The moment they come around, you go and pick them up as soon as you can, because you don't need to get them out there cold. We're not Arsenal Football Club signing players when they're 39 and 40. You know what I'm saying? Willian and them lot. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I don't think there's a single club in world football that would not appreciate Erling Haaland starting up front. Like you said, it's 50, he has 50% conversion rate or something like that. And his shots on target as well. I even saw a stupid stat somewhere that for every shot on target he has, is it like 0.8%? Something ridiculous. I saw like a really ridiculous number somewhere, but I don't think there's any club in world football that would not accept Erling Haaland as the starting striker at this point in time. Because like I said, and like you said, he's simply phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? Simply put.
Yeah, no, 110%. I'm just got looking at the stats after you said them. Yeah, so this is why he's so great. 61% of his shots are on target. So of those 61% that are on target, 50% of so he has 3 shots on average per game.
Yeah.
And 50% of them go in. But it's the accuracy. So the difference is he has 61% of all of his shots are on target. When you look at Timo Werner, it's only 42%. That's it's that 20% distance. But what Haaland has the capabilities of doing, he can blast the ball and place it at the same time, and he finds the corners and he finds areas of the pitch the goalies can't make those saves into. So it isn't just the on target stats a difficult one, because you can shoot it on target but straight at the goalie. But if you put it in the corner, like the goalie's unsafe, and I think that's with Haaland. He tends to hit the ball with the accuracy and velocity that makes it almost impossible to stop, and it's just. He's absolutely phenomenal, and I think what he could do for Chelsea with the way you're going to be creating goals. If you look in your first few games under Tuchel, which we'll kind of move on to, a lot of ball retention, a lot of creativity, but it's been finishing off your chances. If you stick a Haaland in that team, I mean, for me, you instantly become title contenders with the way Tuchel's going to have you playing with somebody with that kind of potency. And he's also a beast. He doesn't really get injured. He barely misses games. He could play 50, 60 games a season at his age and not fall apart. He could end up being, I really do think this, if you sign him young and you keep him happy at Chelsea, he could end up becoming one of your greatest ever strikers because of how good he is.
100%. Like you said, one thing that you said that was really important apart from the target, like the accuracy of the shot and where he's placing it, he can also score dirty goals. That's something a lot of strikers don't like doing these days. Look at your Didier Drogba's from Chelsea or back in the day, even Lewandowski as well. These guys, if they need to score a scrappy, it doesn't always have to be beautiful. Do you know what I'm saying? I go back to Diego Costa 2014, 2015 for Chelsea. I know you had the rough second half of the season, but so many scrappy goals where you've been able to look at Alan Shearer. These guys could score from 25 yards, okay? They could score headers from corners as well. They could score all those goals from 4 yards in. They could do all those different things. And Erling Haaland, a lot of people call him a pace merchant. Yeah, he's really fast, but that's another benefit to his game. The fact that he can actually come in and score all these scrappy, simple goals. And this sort of striker, if we had him right now, I'd be a lot more confident going into the Atletico Madrid game that we're having in how many days? I can't remember exactly, but we're having that in a few weeks. Chelsea Football Club right now, what? How many goals have we scored? 5 goals, and 4 of them have come from either a low line midfielder or a defender. Do you know what I'm saying? 2 penalties from Jorginho, 2 goals from our fullbacks, and 1 from our attacking midfielder, Mason Mount. That's not, I mean, I'm happy we're scoring. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy we're scoring. By the end of the day, we need to get a front line that is effective and efficient. I like Tammy Abraham. Is he there yet? Is he showing me that he can actually lead the line for Chelsea Football Club? Not at the moment. I like Giroud. He's getting too old. Do you know what I mean? And he's not really fit into what Tuchel is trying to do. And Timo Werner, expensive signing. I know he's had a lot of goal contributions, but we need goals. You know what I'm saying? Goal contributions is one thing, but we need your striker to score goals. Against Atletico Madrid, you're not going to get a lot of chances. No, it's not going to happen. You're going to get 5 or 6 chances at best, and maybe 1 or 2 clear cut. And that's the end of this conversation. So Erling Haaland is phenomenal. His levels are above. Honest to God, his levels are above. And he's one of the best talents in the world right now. I don't think anyone can debate that.
No, I agree, mate. And I think that with Haaland, you said them dirty goals, that you could be having an average game. That ball comes across that 6-yard box, you'd bet your mortgage that he's going to put it away. And there's very few strikers out there like that. And the only way you get around not having a prolific goal scorer in that central position is if your inside forwards score a lot of goals. So Liverpool and City in recent years have had those goals coming from the Raheem Sterlings and the Mo Salahs and the Manes, etc. You don't really have that at the moment either. If your Pulisic and your Callum Hudson-Odoi were bringing in 15, 20 league goals each, it wouldn't matter if your striker was only picking up 10, 12. But you
kind
need
of like Liverpool.
Yeah, and I think another reason it's so important to go after Haaland now is there's so many rumors about it, but there is this buyout clause. He's going to be available much cheaper now than in, say, 2 or 3 years' time. Whenever this clause with Dortmund runs out and they get full market value, you're looking at a player, in my opinion, that's going to be £150 million in 2 or 3 years' time. So if you can pick him up now for 45, 50, 60 million, it's such a great investment on the field. But equally, if he does 5 years with Chelsea, kills it and says, look, I really want to move on now, you can cash him in and go, right, now what, we can get 150 bars here. What can we go and do with that elsewhere? In terms of Thomas Tuchel, how happy have you been with the opening sort of 2 or 3 weeks, 3 or 4 games? You look happy. Style's good, plays better. Variety. What are you saying?
Tuchel ball. You know what I'm saying? Tuchel's treble winning blues. I'm joking before I get clipped. You know what I mean? You know how these man move with clips on Twitter.com and everything. But now Tuchel has come in and done what I was hoping he'd do. Do you know what I mean? He's come in, he's stabled the ship. Do you know what I'm saying? He's starting to implement a play style that is actually visible. Do you know what I mean? He's coming with a really good counter press. He's coming with a really good organized team, coming with very unique formations. In his first 4 games, they've all been low block teams. And he's found a way to break down those low block teams. That's something that a lot of teams in the Premier League struggle with, not even just like Chelsea under Lampard. Manchester United struggle with it. Liverpool have been struggling with it this season. I'm very much aware that they're missing 6 to 7 players, and that's something they usually do. Even Pep's side at times have struggled with low block teams. So he's come in and he's implemented this really good, like the manager bounce, apart from the actual bounce of having a new manager, has implemented really good football in such a short space of time. I've always known he was a good tactician. He wasn't like my top first choice, but he's more than made up for me. I'm not even thinking about other managers. I'm just happy that he's coming and giving us an actual chance at qualifying for the top 4, because that's what we're really trying to do right now. FA Cup, I'm feeling way more confident. Champions League, I know I'm probably not going to win that. You know what I'm saying? The chances are very, very slim. But at the end of the day, we're probably like, I feel more confident going into that as well. So Tuchel as an appointment has been simply phenomenal. A lot of the players are now smiling. You can see the training photos. Everybody's all excited. Rival fans. And now another thing I want to mention as well is we're taking advantage of slip-ups. That's something we're not doing. Chelsea fans had the mentality prior of like, oh, at the end of the day, we lost and the rivals lost. So we didn't lose any distance. But he's coming in, and if United or City or Liverpool are losing, we're just keeping up. We keep on closing the gap. So I can't complain. I don't think any Chelsea fan can complain at this point in time.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, his style, so far what I've seen, the way the ball's being moved, it kind of reminds me a little bit of LVG. Where LVG struggled at Man United, they didn't buy him the right players. He didn't have enough creative players and enough finishers to bring his sort of philosophy to life. It was almost this element of I think if LVG was playing with an older Rashford, with the Paul Pogba's, with the Brunos, it would have worked better, because a lot of possession. I always felt quite comfortable in watching LVG play, because our opponents very rarely had the ball, or it felt that way. I've seen that in a lot of Tuchel's opening games. But the advantage that Tuchel's going to have, he's a younger manager, there's no doubt about it. But on top of that, with the quality you have, with the Hudson-Odois, with the Ziyech's of this world, I still think Kai Havertz at any moment is going to come alive. He's still so young. 100%. There's so much quality in this Chelsea team as compared, when you look back with hindsight, to what LVG was working with. And it would be interesting to see what possession-based football can do, because I think in the Premier League in the last few years, obviously City had a lot of success with it, but there was almost this hype for a while around, possession doesn't get you anywhere if you're losing. Leicester kind of broke the mold when they were winning so many games and they won the league without having the ball. A lot of teams like to let opponents have it now, either press them high or press low and have a low block and counter. And Tuchel looks like he's going to come in and really change that. So it's been great to see. The biggest standout difference, though, is, you said it already, the attitude. And I think Lampard's going to go on to be a very good manager. I really do. What I would say is he didn't know how to manage that dressing room. He didn't know how to manage the players. He didn't know how to keep them on side, ignoring of players for weeks, months on end, causing problems, causing issues. That's where I think he really come unstuck. And Tuchel's that bit older. He's that much more experienced. But he can also learn from Lampard in the sense of, how to manage the egos and the personalities in the room to keep everybody on side. Because I think that's where it went wrong for Frank, is Frank fell out with a lot of his first team players, friends, not the first team players, but it was a lot of their friends that were upset, and it creates that kind of toxic environment. But I'm looking at Chelsea at the minute, and as a rival, I'm starting to think fearful for both this season and moving forward, because when Chelsea click with manager and squads, they've obliterated the league in the past, and I don't want to see that happen again.
Exactly. Like, I mean, and you said like with Frank Lampard, that's one thing that I'm shocked he had an issue with, because at the end of the day, he was part of that squad that got Andre Villas-Boas out of the team back in 2011 through 2012. Do you know what I'm saying? He was a member of that squad and he knows exactly what it's like to be in that position. Another thing that confused me with the way he handled the situation is he was a player about 4 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's not good for you to actually not contact or speak to players for months at a time. And this, I'm basing this information off articles that I saw from The Athletic and different sources. So Tuchel, like you said, he has that consistency in terms of, and he's also managed some of the biggest names in world football. So people like Werner and Havertz, they are absolutely nothing compared to Neymar and Mbappe and Thiago Silva and Cavani in his prime, all at PSG. He had all these people on lock. Took them to the Champions League final. Do you understand? So when it comes to the tactics, and you say you brought up LVG, the thing is, LVG, I hear those shots as well, but he's almost like, the way I thought about it is kind of like, I would say, would I call it pet ball lights? Ollie, big up to Ollie for that as well. He was one that mentioned that to me. Kind of like a Klopp style pet ball system, because like you said, it's possession football, but it's effective possession football. On Mauricio Sarri, the ball was being moved extremely slowly, left, right, and center, and they tried to use the ball. They tried to progress with the ball. You know what I'm saying? The players themselves weren't progressing. They were progressing the ball in triangles to try and score the perfect goal. Tuchel is just like, you know what? I need you guys running in XYZ position, quick transitions, trying to get the ball up very, very quickly, and the players are moving with the ball. It's not just trying to move the ball up and down the shop and hope that the opponents crack down. And that's why it wasn't effective against all these low block sides. Frank Lampard, on the other hand, he gave his players too much freedom. He gave them way too much freedom, and sometimes he just tried to lock them in and ask them to do things that he was asking Jorginho to press the opposition centre back. Jorginho can't run faster than my grandma. She's 95. Come on. He can't even run. I'm asking him to press the opposition centre back. Do you know what I'm saying?
And do you know what? And it's a mad one you bring up. I'm a massive fan of Jorginho. I love how he plays. I love the register role. I love his skill set. But you need to use his skill set and not ask him to do the job of a Kante or ask him to do the job of a Bruno Fernandes or whoever it may be. You need, or even Kovacic to drive with the ball. You want Jorginho being that central pivot role, even though he plays in what I love what Tuchel calls it, the twin sixes. He plays in the twin six, but he's the guy that the ball goes through from. If you're going through the middle, attack to defense goes through him. If you're going from left to right, which you have to do in the Tuchel model, keep moving the ball left to right, up and down the field. It goes through him. It is a lot of sideways and diagonal balls, but he is almost, for me, the Jorginho's when used right, they're the gravy on your roast dinner. They just bring it all to life and they give it that final touch needed. Otherwise, it's a little bit dry. And I think they're doing a great job. And the other big mention is the running. It's the running and the movement. So you can keep possession, base ball. But what another issue with LVGs at Man United is players off the ball were static. So there's less opportunities. Tuchel's players, there's diagonal runs here. There's just players moving in every direction when not on the ball. And that causes an absolute nightmare. And if you go back and look at the way PSG played under him, it was very much the same way, which is why I think going back to the Haaland deal to bring this full circle is going to be perfect, because the idea is to work that ball into those central areas in the end, and then for those strikers to be there to pull it away. And if it isn't one of the strikers, it's a Werner, it's a Pulisic, it's a Hudson-Odoi, who's also going to get a lot of game time under him as well. He really is. Mason Mount's playing a bit under here. Are you someone that's a fan of Mason Mount? Do you think maybe Tuchel can bring more out of him, or is it a case of he's good, but it really should be the likes of Havertz who we develop into the role that Mason Mount is in?
I mean, I think Havertz right now, I think he's been a bit injured. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's happening right now. He's been missing a few trainings because of training sessions due to injury. Thing is, like Havertz, like I keep telling a lot of people, do you know what I mean? A lot of people are like shy Havertz and he's a crap player and da. I keep telling them, I'm like, look, when you have Rona, do you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't understand the effect it has on people. Last year, okay, I took it upon myself to do a bit of weight loss. I lost 25 kilograms over the space of the year, and I was going to the gym. Yeah, I was going to the gym. I was doing all of that. Then I caught the thing. After I caught it, I didn't really have symptoms. You know what I'm saying? I was just positive, but some days I just felt very weak. When I was all cleared and positive and ready to go back to thing, when I went back to the gym, I couldn't do anything anymore. I used to be able to do a 5K in less than what, and I could do it in like what? 12-ish, 13, 14 minutes. Now, I mean, after I came, I couldn't really do it all. So it takes a bit of time for you. I only just recently got back into stuff again and actually been able to do exercise on the continuous basis. So people seem to underestimate that. Apart from that, This man was a relatively big fish in a very tiny pond in the Bundesliga. Now he's been taken out of that pond in the Bundesliga and been put into a sea with a bunch of sharks. He might be a big fish, but you need to grow into a big shark. Do you know what I'm saying? That's something that people are forgetting. And also, he's still 21 years old and he's having to move to a different country under pandemic settings. So these sort of things are the things we need to factor in when we're judging players like this. Do you know where I'm coming from? That's why I keep telling all like people in the comment section and people that are just always, because like for me, yeah, banter is all well and good. When it comes to banter, I can banter anybody. Do you know what I'm saying? Because my club is represented to banter, and that's my whole thing, banter and joke. But when it comes to actual serious talk, and you're judging some of these players, for example, look at Bruno Fernandes that came into Manchester United. That's a rare thing. So when that comes in and has an instant impact like that, how many players actually have an instant impact during the space of time that Bruno came into? Look at, he's now one of your most effective players. But to backtrack and actually speak on Mason Mount, I love Mason Mount. I tell people that I built my entire career of Mason Mount in terms of the social media space because he's a very effective player. But once again, Frank Lampard tried to play him as a number 8. Thing is, yeah, he has played as an 8 before, but the Mason Mount we saw at Vitesse or the Mount we saw at Derby, he was very upfront and was able to do a lot of stuff on the ball. Tuchel has come in and is starting to use him in a very different way. Now, he's not really starting to convert. And one issue you have is his final ball, because on the half turn, he's very, very good and catching opponents off in transition. That half turn is one of the most basic moves in football. But him, Jorginho, Thiago at Liverpool, there's some players that do that on a regular basis. And when you can perfect that, it takes out 2 or 3 players in the game. And he's been doing that. But that final ball right now, that final cross, that final shot, that final pass, he's lacking that at this point in time. But once again, he's been put into a position that I appreciate massively. Under Tuchel, you can have like sort of 2 10s almost because of how we structure ourselves. So Mason Mount and Kai Havertz, I see them coexisting. You know what I mean? But the difference is now Tuchel is actually using these players well. Like you said with Jorginho, which Kovacic. Look at Thiago at Liverpool, for example. Everybody is crapping on Thiago. But if you build your team around the Thiago, wow, Thiago, he's one of the best midfielders. I mean, he's like I wouldn't say he's kind of like Jorginho, but I prefer him to Jorginho. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, his career levels,
exactly.
Absolutely levels.
You know what I mean? Silky on the ball. He's not prime quality.
You're right, Dammy. Right. It's all about systems. It's about using the right players in the right systems and trying your best to not put square pegs in round holes. Everyone who's tuning in, make sure you're smashing that like button. Just over 1,200 people watching across multiple platforms. Smash the like button now. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Grand Dam's channel as well. The link for that is in the title. So go and get that done right about now. But smash the like button. I want to ask you here about someone ex-Chelsea based. Spurs, they fell out of another tournament last night, which, it's disappointing for... I feel like some Chelsea fans feel sorry for Jose in that way. But the debate amongst Chelsea fans rages on. We're the football terrace here, so we talk rival talk as well as our own teams. What if you were in the position, what do you think should happen with Jose? Should he be backed fully by Tottenham, given every player he wants in every position that he wants and allowed to play football in his own image? Or should they just say this experiment is done, cut their losses and move on? You know, you can't do the halfway house with Jose. It's either all or nothing. What do you think Tottenham should do? Completely back
all or nothing. Did you do that personally as well?
Oh, that was a great pun. I mean,
that one, yeah. Oh,
it's
my
true.
God.
Literally is the most having been at Man United, what I saw with him is when he was getting what he wanted, we were growing and getting better. As soon as they said no to something, boom. Same as at Chelsea. When he was getting the signings he wanted, selling who he wanted, fine. As soon as it was, I don't want Shevchenko, you're getting Shevchenko. That was almost the beginning of the end first time round. And do you think Tottenham have made a mistake in appointing Jose and should sack him? Or do you actually think, no, listen, you've got one of the best managers ever in the Premier League era at your club. Give him what he wants and stop your moaning, Spurs fans.
I was arguing with Toby about this the other day. You know what I'm saying? For me, Tottenham as an institution, they are not being run correctly. You know what I'm saying? United brought in Mourinho to win trophies. He is winning. He won trophies and he left. You know what I'm saying? If you want Mourinho, see, Mourinho has a formula. It's a very simple formula. First season, let him arrange everything he needs to arrange. Second season is going to win you your trophies. And the third season, he bounces. It's like he got to Tottenham and left his instruction manual in Portugal because he's gone from number 1 to number 3. Do Do you know what I'm saying? That's what's popped up at the moment. So for me, sacking him now is like, what was the point? You didn't back Pochettino, your greatest ever manager, as far as I'm concerned. Took you to a Champions League final, okay? Everything happened the way it did. And then instead of you to back him the next season, you did not. You have Harry Kane, arguably one of the best strikers on the planet, and you think he's going to keep on watching this managerial shift left, right, and center. It don't work that way. So sacking him now is like, of what benefit does that do? Who is coming around to your club? I see Son and Kane leaving very soon. Those guys deserve to be at much better clubs. Harry Kane hasn't won anything. What has he won? Nothing relevant. Absolutely nothing.
Audi
What
Cup.
does he have to... Pardon?
He's got the Audi Cup.
You know, the Audi Cup. Do you know what I'm saying? What do you Audi Cup? You know? Can you imagine? Oh yeah, when he's all retired with his multiple goals, he's like, oh daddy, where are your trophies? And he brings out the Audi Cup. His children will slap him silly. Do you know where I'm coming from? By the end of the day, like they need to. Thing is, sacking Mourinho doesn't change too much for me. You know where I'm coming from? It doesn't change too much. At the end of the day, they actually need to look within themselves. And Daniel Levy, he's good at what he does, but he needs to give people a bit more allowances. For me, sacking him doesn't do anything. It does absolutely nothing. I know he plays negative football sometimes. Yesterday, they turned it on and they looked really good, but they considered a crap ton of goals because of their bad squad. But at the end of the day, sacking him doesn't do anything in the grand scheme of things, because if you can't back him, man, you signed this man knowing you need to back him, and you didn't back him. So what's the point? Where do you go from here? Who is going to come around to Tottenham and do it? Are they going to do another project? See how long the Pochettino project took, and he didn't bring anything. So Mourinho has come to win trophies. You're not backing him. And now you wonder, how? Where do you go?
Yeah. No, I hear you. For me, I feel it's this way. I understand people don't like his style. Get that completely. 100. But Jose is what he is. When Jose's happy, he's dangerous. He can win you things. He can be potent. He can be charismatic. The problem with most like Tottenham fans is they don't see this. I think a lot of Spurs fans would rather come fifth, but be awarded by the media you play the nicest football award. That for them would be a testament to success. Another percentage of Tottenham fans are like, no, I just want these trophies now. We've made the Champions League. We've been in the Champions League final. We've been on title runs. You know, we've been awarded like sort of morally and ethically for having good football, but there's no trophy. There's no medal for any of our players. And I think the most embarrassing element that could ever hit or happen to Harry Kane is to retire with Premier League record goals, Tottenham's record goal scorer, but no titles, no medals around his neck. It undoes it. There's some news here that's come out. We're going to put the comment up on the board. Fabrizio Romano tweeted comments from Mino Raiola saying that Paul Pogba to Juve, I can't speak about Pogba because people are nervous. They don't sleep at night. I have to work quietly. If I speak, someone gets offended. Do you know what? Mino Raiola does no favors for Paul Pogba whatsoever with the way he speaks. He just doesn't need to say anything. Madness.
There's a word, I use for this guy. I don't want to use it on here. Do you know what I'm saying? But that guy, he's the definition of that word. Honest to God, that guy, Mino Raiola. I don't know what he's so. I don't even know. I mean, Terry, take it away, man. Because I have to think of another word to use that's a bit softer in it, because he just terrorizes people. Do you know what I mean? That's all he does. He comes into a club. For example, look at how you guys went. Was it the Champions League? You had that very important game, and he came out and said something about Paul Pogba that didn't need to be said, and he probably changed up the whole tactic. I don't know, man. He's such a bad person to do business with. I mean, what do you think as a United fan? How do you feel about this?
For me, listen, I want to read the whole thing. I want to read the whole thing because maybe Mino Raiola said something else afterwards, and Fabrizio is being a little bit cheeky with what he's releasing. For me, I've always said about Paul, it's a real difficult one. If I was advising Paul Pogba, I really would say find a new agent, because the guy, just the way he does things is too abrupt, and it upsets people. And it's something about him. Something about Mino Raiola. I just see him and I just see someone. He just looks greasy, horrible. Like looks like a bad man to me. But you know what, Paul Pogba, I love him. We know he's pretty much going to leave. But there's a way in which you want to do things as far as them. Because actually, Nick Sports here says, where's that just gone? A comment jumped out of my eye shot now. He said that Mino Raiola also said there's nothing to speak about. Okay, so there we go. So Fabrizio randomly leaving that part out is weird. But Fabrizio got I suppose, he's got to make them tweets trend. Mina won't be able to handle Marina. Well, that's interesting because Haaland, of course, has the same the same agent. But listen, you're right though. That's absolutely right. Chelsea, like Liverpool, handle their business so much better than Man United do. We've created this rod for our own back. There's no doubt about it at Man United. We were so weak with Raiola in the beginning. We've been so weak in so many transfer negotiations that we've created a rod. Like a lot of these agents know they can slap Man United about. Basically, they can just do it. They can literally sit there poking us in the eye, and we're not going to do anything. We're going to pay up in the end anyway. And I think it's the big thing here is for Woodward and co to grow a backbone. There's no doubt about it. Make sure you're smashing that like button, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Subscribe, turn on the bell notification button as well. Get that done right now. We're going to move on and talk about something else. I want to ask you a question. You're a young football fan. Football hipsters. What's your thoughts?
Thing is, honestly, for me, it's frustrating. You know what I'm saying? People are entitled to what they want to do, but that's the thing. That sentence I've just put up. People are entitled to how they want to view stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you want to watch your matches on SofaScore with XG ratings, you can go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? I like to watch the actual game. You know what I'm saying? I know some people that live and die by XG. You know where I'm coming from? Oh, this person's XG is here, there, and there. Henceforth, that is why they should. And I'm like, okay, that's your opinion. But the thing is, when you start trying to belittle people that don't follow the same ideology that you do, that's where my problem is. You've got people talking catenaccio and all these funky buzzwords and trendy words. Yeah, I like them. They sound nice. You understand? When you speak with them, they make you sound so much more intelligent and blah, blah. Make you sound, that's the key phrase. Make you sound more intelligent. But it don't mean nothing. Do you know where I'm coming from? Yeah. It really don't mean nothing. You've got people trying to tell you how a specific manager should be playing and all of that. But at the end of the day, football hipsters, for me, they can exist, but most of them are quite frustrating because as far as they are concerned, their word is law. And that's the end of the conversation. You can't win an argument with a hipster. Do you know where I'm coming from? Or would you share the same opinion as I do?
No, I do, to be fair. I wanted to ask you as a young football fan because it tends to be the younger generation, tends to be. I love stats. I think stats are really important, but my stats are based on facts. So I look at what someone has done and talk about it rather than what they're expected to do. Because I've read about XG and XA and goal XGA and everything, and I think, okay, great, but that doesn't take into consideration real football, real moments, individual moments of brilliance, which are very, very important to me. I do like stats, but I tend to use stats when it comes to two things. If somebody makes up a lie about a player, so Rashford makes too many bad decisions, my first comment back is compared to who? Because if he's making, well, compared to everybody else that plays in his position, okay, then he must, if he's making the worst decisions, he's not going to create as many chances. He's going to lose the ball more. He's going to have less shots. He's going to score less. And statistically, which are the facts, none of that is true. So show me how he's doing it. So for me, that's where I think stats are very, very important. Where somebody's making a claim about somebody, you must be able to back it up. Yeah. I also like stats. I also like stats to be used when you're comparing two of the best players. So if, for instance, you take Messi and Ronaldo, they're two of the greatest players ever. Arguing about who the best is based on technique or their dribbling ability or how they run, I think it becomes too much about preference. So what you do to separate is, well, let's look at stats and what they've achieved, put it all together and who comes out on top. I don't think it's fair to compare stats when you're looking at Messi versus Wilfried Zaha, because there's such a, if you're going to say, well, Wilfried Zaha scored more goals per 90 minutes in the last 3 months, he's as good as Messi. That's stupid because we know Messi's better. But as you say, with football hipsters, it's too much in one way. It's the whole like, oh yeah, I don't know, Mane is trash. Why? He only completes 2 dribbles per game.
That as well. Like
what? That makes no sense.
See, that's the thing is, when it comes to stats, like you said, stats is usually one of the things. They are both sides of the coin. You know what I'm saying? You need to watch it. And you need to also use the statistics. You know where I'm coming from? You can have somebody play an absolutely shocking game and still drop a 7.5 on SofaScore. Them having a 7.5 on there doesn't mean they had it. I mean, if you watch it, you will see what I mean. Let's use some players, for example. If football was just judged off stats, because my thing is statistics make it. A lot of managers use statistics to be able to choose who to go up against. It's stuff like statistics that help goalkeepers to determine where to dive or to get like against certain players. So they are 100% very useful. When you're having arguments, like you said, to separate some very good players like Messi, Ronaldo, and them, like, you have to bring up their statistics because stylistically, Messi is kind of different to Ronaldo, but at the end of the day, they are very good players individually, but you also have to use their statistics. But let's look at like Xavi or Iniesta. If you judge those two off strictly stats, where do we go from there? That means they were one of the crappiest midfielders to ever set foot in the Premier League.
And you're right.
I'm coming from.
Yeah, and it's knowing what stats. So when I think about Xavi's and Iniestas, I want to look at, if you're going to look at stats, it's got to, your pass completion is important, but it's what's the pass completion like going forward? How often were they losing the ball? How often were they dribble pass? How often were they dispossessed? What areas of there are statistics out there if you use the right types of sites. Y Scouts, one of the most amazing. Y Scout I use is the most amazing site there is because for every statistic there's a video clip. So if you click on it and you want to look at Xavi's passing, every pass he's ever made is on there. So if you want to look at his forward passing, yeah, so that's how I review it. So when I look at somebody's statistics, I can see every clip that relates to every. So if you look at if I look at now Haaland up on my screen, I can't actually. I will share it. I'll share it with everyone so they see here. So let me just share my screen so everyone can see what I'm doing. So if you use this here, this is what it looks like. So if I was to click on Haaland here, I could look at his shots, right? So I could click on this game here against Mönchengladbach. You click on it. I need to be careful it doesn't actually play as we're going to get something shut down. I'm going to pause it. It brings up all the shots in the game. Does that make sense? So it literally shows you the stats for everything. So if I want to look at if I want to go into general here and go to his, I want to go to his defensive. I want to see how good he is at intercepting the ball. I could click on here against Leipzig and I could look at all of his interceptions from the game. So that's how I look at stats. But I look at stats with the combination of the video evidence because I want to look at it. And then it's learning what stats are important for those players as opposed to just saying, my favorite player got an assist today. That means he had a good game. Equally, these hipsters, they also at the same time pretend to hate stats. They're the same guys that are like, it's all they push the eye testing all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is with the eye test is the eye test is also subjective and it's about being fair in your balance. So it's often they promote players they like watching
100%
over players that are maybe better than them. So for instance, if they're saying, oh, my favorite striker, I don't know, Isak is better than, we had a guy come on the show and say Isak is better than Haaland. And it's like, based on what? I just prefer what he does. That's stupid. Haaland outscores him 5, 6, 7 to 1. I don't care how much better Isak looks on the eye. He is not as good as Haaland, if that makes sense. Like, and he's like, no, you're just using stats, Terry. It's all about the eye test. And that's where hipsters also confuse me. One minute they use a stat. So Rashford loses the ball too much. Or great one, Bruno Fernandes loses the ball too much. That means he's a bad player. So now you like stats. Well, that's an important one. But what about the level of goals that he scores compared to all other midfielders? Oh, that's just stat padding. They literally change their tune depending upon their argument. Where for me, I think the combination of your eye test and the combination of your ability to understand what stats for what positions are important is key. That makes sense. Like the assists for a DM are irrelevant. Goals for a DM are like a bonus thing. What you've got to be looking at is their interceptions rate, their tackle win rate. A big important one for a DM or any kind of defender is how many fouls per game are they giving away and where do they give away? And I think all these things are so important. And yeah, football hipsters for me, I got no real personal issue with them, but it just annoys me how things like XG have taken over and how they. And I see another thing. Oh, I'm actually getting annoyed the more I talk about it. Modern day football fans, hipsters, praise players more for ghosting in games than they do for attempting something and failing. So we use Mane as an example. If we use tonight, if Christian Pulisic tonight attempts 10 dribbles trying to beat the fullback, but only completes 4 of them, but it loses the ball on all the others. But on the other side, Hudson-Odoi has a quiet night, doesn't try and dribble past anybody, doesn't really take any risks, but doesn't lose the ball. I would say Pulisic's had a better game because he's tried to make the difference. He hasn't ghosted. And I'm choosing a lot of these hipsters, They look at it like, no, your guy run into Pulisic run into a dead end 4 times. That means he's having a bad game. It's mad.
And that's something that's something stats can't capture. Do you know what I'm saying? That's something they can't capture. That's why I say some people watch football off SofaScore. I swear to God, some people watch football off SofaScore and like, oh, I've seen the heat map and blah blah blah. They ran so many kilometers, and that's how they come to conclusion. These things don't take into account leadership. Do you have number of leadership times?
Exactly.
And that's something that a lot of the people, some people do this on Twitter, football Twitter, and it really pisses me off. Especially the perfect example is Mason Mount. You understand? Statistically, okay, he's not the best looking footballer in some regard. You understand? Especially as an attacking player. But when you now look at his on the pitch, the desire to wanting to play. People mock desire, they mock passion, they mock leadership ability. These things, you can't register them on SofaScore. You can't register them on any statistic website in any way, shape, or form. Do you know what I'm coming around? Those things are extremely important. When your team is in the dying minutes of a game, let's say you have a striker and he's missed 30 shots. You understand? Let's say he's missed 30 shots, okay? And then the 31st one, he scores it. People will tell you on SofaScore that he was bad overall, and SofaScore probably rank him low because he scored that. But at the end of the day, the continuous want to keep on taking those shots. You know, do you understand? The statistics don't catch that.
Exactly. It's that want. And the word passion merchant now has been twisted into British player bangs his chest. It's like, no, people do realize that Pep Guardiola's system doesn't work without hard work rate, passion, determination, and never say and die. When I talk about, if I look at Anthony Martial, I think he's such a good footballer. Where he frustrates me is his lack of work rate. What it gets twisted into is, oh, Terry, you just want him pressing everybody and tracking back. No, I don't. I want him, if he's run fouls twice, if he makes a run and he doesn't get found, I want him to make that run the 3rd time. If he tries to beat a man and it doesn't work, I want him to try it the 2nd, the 3rd, or 4th time. I want perseverance in your role. I want you to continue pushing forward. That's where he kind of fades away a little bit for me. I will always congratulate the person that tried and failed over the person that stopped trying. Because statistically, the person who keeps trying and failing might look worse on the day. Oh, he lost the ball 28 times today. Why? How was he losing the ball? Was it his crosses were going into the box and they weren't quite accurate? Did he have 2 or 3 additional shots because nobody in front of him was making any movements, so he shot the ball? Now, statistically, that counts as losing possession. But why was he shooting? Did he actually have options? Maybe yes, maybe no. A comment here from iTest, a guy who phones the show, says, Terry, do you think Bruno is better than Prime Dino and Neymar because he has better stats? Firstly, I don't know if he does have better stats than both of those players without looking. But the answer's, define what you mean by better. Better goal scorer, yes, if his stats are better. But is he a better dribbler? No. Is he a better leader? That's a good argument. I think he might be a better leader than Dino. I'm not sure if Dino was ever captain. I'd have to research that. Better overall footballers? No. Why would I claim that? Where have I ever claimed it?
Exactly. Football doesn't register. It doesn't register flair. It can't. Like, there was a super chat by one guy. He said, I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it somewhere. He said, what did he say? Yeah, that's the one. 100% of football have never played football. Start meant to be for play. 100%. But my thing is, do you think when you're playing with your mates, okay, and you're obviously scaling people there, doing some dazzling stuff, you take quite a few shots and you make. I would love to play with that sort of person, or not the person that you don't see. You know them ones where you're playing 5-a-side and they're one of the dons that are just hanging in front, not trying to do nothing. Do you understand? If we judge that off straight, if you've never, some people have never played football. I know some people have not had the opportunity to play, maybe because of one disease or something like that. So I'm not even trying to ask those sort of people. But some people just come to these conclusions that you need to be statistically supreme to be a good footballer, which is not correct. Like you said, Ronaldinho and Neymar, maybe they don't have more goals than Bruno. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I have no idea. But Ronaldinho is one of the most phenomenal footballers to ever watch.
And do you know where you're bang on when you're talking about the elite end of the spectrum? Where I get annoyed, though, is where people call Wilfried Zaha a great footballer. I'm like, no, he has great technique. He has great flair. He does great things. For him to move into that great category, it's the outputs that then do need to improve, because the greatest players, someone said to me when the legend that is Diego Maradona died, they said, see, He was a player that, it weren't all about stats. And then I just went and looked. The man had like 680 goal contributions in 700 professional games. I'm like, he had amazing stats. Like the greatest, say if we go to attacking players, because their statistics are easier to look at.
Yeah.
You can't find a great attacking player who didn't have good stats. They in terms of either goals created and scored or just goals scored, they all were very, very good at it. Like to a level and above. You otherwise you weren't great, because if Ronaldinho had all the flair, but his crosses always went out for throw-ins. If he had all the flair, but his through balls never found their men. If he had all the flair,
Ben Arfa. Do you know what I'm saying? Remember
nobody would have rated him. The reason that the Messis, the Ronaldinhos, the Neymars, the Ronaldos, the Messis, the R9s, the Zlatans, the Rooneys, the Suarezes, I keep naming them. The reason that these individuals are seen as elite is because they're very good footballers in their own rights, and there was end product. That's what makes them elite. End product and ability together makes you elite. When you've got great ability, but the end product is intermittent, you're not in that great category. That's where the stats are being used, and people just used to like to twist it. And generally, they twist it to force in a player they like. It's a preference thing, bro. My favorite singer is a British Nigerian guy called Lamar. Now, I know by how many records he's sold that he's not he's not the greatest singer that's ever come out of this country. 100%. He's my favorite singer, and that's where a lot of these hipsters get confused. Just because Isak or Mount are your favorite players, it doesn't mean they're as good as you think they are. That you can love Mount, but don't try and compare him to Bruno. Don't try and compare him to KDB. Madness, absolute madness. Final topic before we ask you your question about what really changed in football. Top 4 races on. Chelsea look like they're creeping back into it. Who's making the top 4 this season, bro?
Who's making top 4? I have to tread extremely carefully here. We have to tread extremely carefully. Now, Man City, without a shadow of a doubt, I think they have the league in the bag right now. Do you know what I'm saying? Things could change. Things could very much change. You understand? Look at how Arsenal's form went out of nowhere, how Chelsea brought them back into life. They started winning games, then they died off. Look how Liverpool are playing quite well. Then the injuries, I mean, they had injuries for quite a bit of time, but they were playing quite well. They've dropped off. United were not looking too good. And you guys picked up, and we even got to the top of the league at one point. Chelsea started kind of okay, dipped seriously and bombastically, picked up back again. So the thing is all over the shop. Do you know what I'm saying? All the tools are scattered around the place, and it's kind of difficult to actually come to a conclusion. Even Tottenham right now, they could pick up some form. Nobody knows, because remember, we all thought they were going to finish in the top 4. We thought Chelsea was out. We thought United was out. So I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to actually, even Leicester, someone has just mentioned Leicester, I forgot about Leicester. They've been playing quite well. Last season they qualified as well for the. Yeah, I mean, they've been playing quite well. They've been going quite far as well. So there are a lot of people to actually talk about. Even Everton. Everton are right behind all of us. Do you know what I'm saying? They've got 2 games in hand above Chelsea. I know that's against Man City and Chelsea themselves, but they've got quite a few people. But if I were to actually pick a top 4, Manchester City at the top of the pile by some distance, probably. That is hard after that.
Yeah.
It's hard after that. I think United will not finish second, but I mean, does this have to be in order as well? Are we talking in order?
Just name the 4 teams, mate. Yeah, just the 4.
I'd back Chelsea to get into it as well, for sure. I'd back United to get into it as well. I think Arsenal are done. Everton are not going to make it. Now, the thing is you've got Liverpool, because the thing with Liverpool right now, they've got quite a lot of people out. You know what I'm saying? That's my only thing right now. They're missing quite a lot of key players. They are big boy Virgil. They're missing quite a lot of their attackers. They're getting older. Even they don't really have their subs anymore. So I'm not sure if they can make it, you know. It sounds silly. But you know what, actually? I'll just put Liverpool in. I'd go Manchester City. I'd go Chelsea, United, and Liverpool. I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, in fairness, that's exactly the same as me right now. I feel like Leicester will fall away. Brendan Rodgers loves to collapse. He's a house of cards, and it will happen. He'll collapse. I think Man United have put themselves into a really good position. We've got a good, strong squad to see ourselves through. Tuchel's going to make you guys shine. I really think you're going to just. I actually don't think you'll lose more than 2, maybe 3 games in the league between now and the end of the season. I think you're going to be really strong. I think you'll come. I think Man United will come second. I think you'll come third. I think Liverpool may come fourth. If they don't, Liverpool are going to be too good to fall out of that, and everybody else will be behind them. I think Arsenal are going to finish 10th, to be fair. I really think they're going to struggle in relation to that. So that's where I think they're going to stick. I test you of another test who says, Terry, when you were in the park with friends, there was no paper with stats to show who the best is. You just know with the eye test. Yes and no, bro. And I hear you on that. But where I'd break it down is I had a friend, my friend Jason Bergen. This guy had more skills than anyone else. But no one said he was the best. You know why? Because he was greedy. He didn't pass, and he scored. So this is where it is subjective. Some people say he's the best because he had the best skills. I didn't think he was the best because he was the worst guy to be with. He played double knockouts. He was annoying. He wouldn't pass, and in games he messed up too much. So yeah, and you also knew which one of your friends scored the most goals. You didn't need it on paper, but you were like, he's the best striker. Why? Because he finishes his chances more. He's the best defender because no one gets past him. So you don't need stats, but why they're the best, there's a stat behind it. Like, that's the point. It's like, if your defender, if no one can beat your defender and he wins every tackle, you know that he's the best defender because of tackle. Stats do count. It's the mix in my test. Stop trying to act like that. Go on, bro.
It's not like you said, even like with the statistics as well. Because there's one guy I'm thinking of. He's in the back of my head. I know this man's name. I won't drop him. You know what I'm saying? He's one of my boys. I know he's my guy in it, but I don't want to cause beef in the group chat. But at the end of the day, for me, like, this brother here, on the ball, phenomenal. I'm saying absolutely phenomenal. This man can skill you from now back to your dead. You understand? He can skill you every day of the week. I bet £1,000 he skill you 10 times out of 10. You understand? When it comes to shooting or anything else, bomber class. Nothing, fam.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing to his game. And that's why I keep saying, look at Hatim Ben Arfa. Phenomenal on the ball. Absolutely phenomenal. End product, where is it? In the bin. There's nowhere to be found. And that thing you just said, when people hear statistics, they are thinking of like a grandpa at the back with a pen in his ear like that and a note, and they're consistent. That's not how it runs. That's not how it runs. You understand?
It's the mixture. It's the mixture, isn't it?
Exactly.
If I score 10 goals and you score 10 goals, but yours are all tap-ins, and I've got 4 tap-ins, 2 screamers, 2 of them on my left foot, I've got a header from distance, and I scored a free kick. You know, I would say, well, yeah, I would say I'm the better attacker because I can score a variety of goals, you know, as an example. And that's where stats tell you one part of the story, and then the eye test tell you the other. That's what I love about Bruno Fernandes. When you look at his goals, of course there are penalties, but they've been free kicks. The man scored screamers, he scored tap-ins, he scored headers. The variety of goals that he scores tells you that he is an amazing finisher. And the penalties that he takes just are another example of that. Look at Gundogan, right? He's having a great season. Man can't score penalties. Like, it's like you want to banter my.
That ball will keep me on the back of my head, you know.
I can't believe how bad a penalty that was, but he came true in the end because he's having a really great season. He is. There we go. Final question for you before the end of the stream. Remember, live after this stream, straight away, ladies and gentlemen, at 6 o'clock. I need to make sure man's got the code. Actually, it's going to be man like Adam Charles with that Arsenal show, and then at 7 o'clock, it's going to be that Liverpool show going live, which is going to be great. So make sure you're all. I need to resend the code again now because it's already run out. 1 second. Re-log in, please, Mr. Charles.
Smash the likes, people. You know what I'm saying? Smash up the likes.
Absolutely.
Them, understand? Punch them in. You know what I'm saying? Get that all done properly.
My question for you is: if you could change one law, one rule in football for the gameplay, what would it be and why?
You know what I'm going to do, yeah, Terry? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to give you one where I'm serious, and I'm going to give you a joke, man. One. You understand? Which one do you want first?
Do the serious one first. Joke 1 second.
All right, serious one for me. We need to pattern up that offside rule at the moment. It is absolutely shambolic in the sense that you've got VAR. Okay, the idea behind it is kind of good in a sense, but it gives this false image. It gives this false narrative because right now you can be offside. Keep on moving, you can literally keep on running, score a goal, and then it's not being waited for offside because they want to check your VAR. On the other hand, you can be running, somebody could be down injured, they're not going to stop the play.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. You know, it's so stupid. I don't understand the concept behind it 100% because right now with VAR for me, a lot of people hate VAR. I don't hate it. I hate the people that are using it. A lot of these people are doing all sorts of, because I mean, referees on their own, you've got some referee. The whole idea of a referee is, yeah, a good referee goes to a game, does his job, he leaves and nobody talks about him. You understand? I don't need to know the name of my referee by the end of the game, because if you know the person is the referee, then that means something has gone down wrong. You've got too many referees that want to be the star of the show. I want to do all sorts of XYZ. That's not how it should be. So you've got those people in the court already. Then there's VAR too. And these guys don't even know how to use VAR so well, because the rules are so all over the place. So one for me in particular is that offside rule, because right now it's a mess. Do you understand? If it's offside, put your damn flag down and let's all know it's offside and keep it moving. Not waiting for 30 seconds and you now start going to do the thing and we don't need that. You know what I'm saying? We don't need that.
You've been called out here by David. One of our resident panelists on the show, says chatting about VAR. He loves VAR. Get me on with Dam on a show, and we'll see.
I rate VAR. That's the thing. And that's what I just said, didn't it? You understand? That's why I like it. But for me, the people that are using it are not the brightest. That's how I see those situations. I mean, Terry, what do you think?
No, listen, VAR for me, it's I like the offside. I like the idea of it being unambiguous. So you're either offside or you're not, right? I kind of get all that. What's confused me in the last few weeks has been some blatantly obvious decisions not being overturned or looked at, like when Suchek, the elbow thing, madness. What are you looking at? What's going through your head? Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
It's crazy what's going on. It's almost like they've become a little bit too scared in recent times to do things right, which is an absolute madness as far as I'm concerned. It's crazy. What would be your but yeah, we can definitely get David and Dammy on a show at some point. We'll get that done, no doubt. That would be an interesting one. What would be your joke rule? What would be your funny one to change?
Do you know what would be jokes here? If they took away the offside rule completely. Can you imagine how jokes football would be if they took away the offside rule? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the entire situation and how things are like overall, okay, the managers would have to set up so differently, because you'd just be able to loft the ball. You'd literally have it would be like the football in the 60s or 70s. I don't think it was football. Offside wasn't there, if I'm not correct. Yeah, if I'm correct. I think there was a point in time in the footballing world where there was no offside. So literally just be able to loft the ball forward and do whatever you like. It's all over the shop. I tried to see someone like Guardiola who likes to keep a high line, how he's going to counter that. So that would be joke, man. That would be 100% jokes.
That would be. I think KJ mentioned that one yesterday and said that's what he'd like to do in relation to that.
Like, that's a Morata golden boot winner.
Like Inzaghi would have probably scored 2. I mean, Rashford would love it. He's offside too much.
Offside, you get me?
I love that. My one I said yesterday, which I like, is I would give penalties for time wasting. So you have 5 seconds to take throw-ins, free kicks, goal kicks, right? And if you take any longer, it's instantly a penalty to your opponent. So if you're a goalkeeper, in 92nd minute, you're trying to relieve pressure, you're taking them 45 seconds to take a goal kick. You got 5 seconds to kick the ball out. Otherwise, you give a penalty to the other team. Mine would be quite harsh, because as a United fan, whenever we lose, the time wasting used to wind me up when I was younger. And I used to sometimes sit there and count. Like, even the 6-second rule gets me. You know, goalies are only allowed to hold on to the ball for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
I sit there counting sometimes. I'm like, it's been 14 seconds. You ain't let go of it. What's the ref not? Like, I hate stuff like that. I don't know why. It's like, why have the law if you don't enforce it? You might as well not have the law. Does that make sense? Like, it's just
100%, yeah.
There we go. Listen, Dan, let everyone know where they can find you on socials, bro.
Yeah, big. See, listen, if you haven't smashed that like button, touch it up. You get me? Punch it down, fam. Punch the like button, smash it up through the roof. But I go by Dammy, but you can find me at the Grand Dam. That's my socials for everything. I think the link is in the title, so you man just go. You can go check me out on all the different platforms. Man is a clown, isn't it? But I can speak ball too when I need to. So, yeah,
you're not a clown. You're a good guy, my bro. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, thank you. That Arsenal show up next. At 7 o'clock, that Liverpool show is going to be on. Man Like Callum is going to be here. And then we're live after Chelsea's FA Cup game tonight as well. So a big night on the football terrace. Make sure you stay tuned in. Monday's going to be an interesting night as well. We're testing some brand new tech for shows on Monday night. So keep your eyes out for that. Football terrace going places. Until then, take care. Goodbye.